The year is 1888. London, a city of grandeur and squalor, stands at the crossroads of history. The streets are a labyrinth of contrasts where the opulence of the wealthy is but a stone's throw from the abject poverty of the destitute. London, a global centre of power and wealth, holds a dark secret within its heart. Beneath the veneer of prosperity lies a world of shadows where the forgotten and the forsaken struggle to survive. The bustling streets of Whitechapel stand in stark contrast to the opulence of the West End. Here the air is thick with the cries of street vendors, the clatter of horse-drawn carriages and the murmur of countless souls eking out a living. Here poverty, vice and despair are woven into the very fabric of existence. The residents of Whitechapel live in a world where hope is a rare commodity and survival is a daily battle. Overcrowded slums teem with life, each narrow alleyway a testament to the struggle for survival. Families are crammed into tiny, dilapidated rooms with little more than a thin wall separating them from their neighbours. For the women of Whitechapel, life is especially harsh. Many are widows or abandoned wives, left to fend for themselves and their children in a world that offers them little in the way of support or opportunity. Many turn to prostitution to escape the clutches of poverty, placing themselves at great risk in an unforgiving environment. The streets are fraught with danger and the threat of violence is ever present. The air is thick with the smell of coal smoke and human misery. The factories belch out their noxious fumes and the stench of unwashed bodies and rotting refuse permeates the air. Gaslight flickers, casting long shadows that dance across the cobblestones. The dim light creates an eerie atmosphere where every corner seems to hide a lurking danger. The nights are alive with a mixture of dread and a desperate hope for a better tomorrow. The darkness brings with it a sense of foreboding, as if the very air is charged with the weight of unspoken fears. It is in this environment of desperation and fear that a nightmare will unfold, one that will forever stain the streets of Whitechapel with blood and terror. The residents live in constant fear, their lives overshadowed by the spectre of violence. The name Jack the Ripper will become synonymous with the darkness lurking beneath the city's vibrant facade. His reign of terror will leave an indelible mark on the collective consciousness, a grim reminder of the horrors that can fester in the shadows of society. The first whispers of fear begin in August 1888. The streets of Whitechapel, already known for their poverty and crime, become the hunting ground for a killer who will soon be infamous. Mary Ann Nichols, a woman known on the streets of Whitechapel, is found brutally murdered. Her life, like many others in the area, was marked by hardship and struggle. Her throat is slashed, her body mutilated. The sheer brutality of the attack is unlike anything the community has seen before. The savagery of the attack sends a shockwave through the community. Fear begins to spread, and whispers of a monstrous killer start to circulate.
Polly Nichols, as she was known, becomes the first victim in a string of horrific murders that will grip the city in terror. Her death marks the beginning of a dark chapter in London's history.
Just weeks later, Annie Chapman is discovered murdered, her body bearing similar wounds to Nichols. The killer's methods are becoming more refined, more deliberate. The brutality is escalating, the killer growing bolder. The streets of Whitechapel, already dangerous, become a place of dread and suspicion.
Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes are the next to fall victim, their murders occurring on the same night. The killer's audacity knows no bounds, striking twice in one night. The city is paralyzed with fear. The police are under immense pressure, but the killer remains elusive, slipping through the cracks of the foggy, gaslit streets.
Finally, in November, the reign of terror seemingly ends with the murder of Mary Jane Kelly. Her death is the most gruesome of all. Her body found in her own room, mutilated beyond recognition. Her mutilated body is found in her own room, marking the most gruesome murder yet. The horror of her death sends shockwaves not just through Whitechapel, but through all of London. These 5 women, linked by their poverty and the brutality of their deaths, become known as the canonical 5 victims of Jack the Ripper. Their stories, though tragic, are a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows of Victorian London. Each of their lives, though cut short, paints a vivid picture of the struggles faced by many in that era. The mystery of their deaths continues to captivate and horrify, a dark chapter in the annals of crime history. As the body count rises, so too does the pressure on the police. Scotland Yard assigns Inspector Frederick Aberline to the case, a seasoned detective known for his tenacity.
Aberline faces a daunting task. Whitechapel, a maze of narrow streets and overcrowded lodging houses, offers endless places for the killer to hide. Witnesses, often reluctant to speak to the police, provide fragmented and often unreliable accounts.
The investigation is further hampered by the limitations of forensic science at the time. Fingerprinting is in its infancy and blood typing is yet to be discovered. The police are forced to rely on eyewitness accounts, physical evidence found at the crime scenes, in the hope that someone will come forward with vital information. Despite their efforts, the investigation stalls. Jack the Ripper, shrouded in the fog and shadows of Whitechapel, seems to vanish as quickly as he appears. Section 4. Whispers in the Fog, the Jack the Ripper letters. As the investigation falters, a new element enters the already sensationalized case. Letters, purportedly written by the killer himself, begin to arrive at police stations and newspapers. The most infamous of these, the From Hell letter, arrives alongside a box containing half a human kidney. While many of these letters are dismissed as hoaxes, the From Hell letter, with its gruesome accompaniment, casts a long shadow over the investigation. The letters, whether genuine or not, serve to further terrify the public and taunt the police. They become a macabre form of communication between the killer and the city he holds hostage in fear. The Ripper's taunting words, combined with the gruesome nature of the crimes, create a media frenzy. The legend of Jack the Ripper begins to take on a life of its own. Section 5. Faces in the crowd, the prime suspects. In the foggy streets of Victorian London, the hunt for Jack the Ripper became an obsession for both the police and the public. The mystery surrounding his identity has captivated imaginations for over a century. Over the years, hundreds of individuals have been proposed as potential suspects in the Jack the Ripper case. From local residents to high-profile figures, the list of names is as varied as it is long. Some of the more prominent names include Montague John Druitt, a barrister who committed suicide shortly after the final canonical murder. Druitt's background and untimely death have led many to speculate about his involvement.
I was a Polish immigrant living in Whitechapel, displaying signs of mental illness and harboring a hatred of women. My erratic behavior and violent tendencies made me a prime suspect in the eyes of the authorities.
William Gull, the physician to Queen Victoria, was linked to the case through conspiracy theories involving the royal family. These theories suggested a cover-up at the highest levels of society, adding a layer of intrigue to the already complex case.
I was an eccentric American doctor with a history of violence against women, and I fled the country shortly after the murders. My sudden departure and violent past made me a suspect in the eyes of many.
Despite these and numerous other suspects, no conclusive evidence has ever been found to definitively link any individual to the crimes. Theories have ranged from plausible to the outlandish, but the true identity of Jack the Ripper remains elusive. The lack of concrete evidence, combined with the passage of time, has allowed the mystery of Jack the Ripper's identity to endure. As the years have passed, the legend of Jack the Ripper has only grown, becoming a symbol of the dark underbelly of Victorian society. The fascination with his identity continues to inspire books, films, and endless speculation. Each new theory brings a fresh perspective, but the truth remains just out of reach. The streets of Whitechapel hold their secrets close, and the shadowy figure of Jack the Ripper continues to haunt the annals of history. Section 6. A macabre legacy, Jack the Ripper in popular culture. The Jack the Ripper murders, with their blend of horror, mystery, and social commentary, have captivated the public imagination for over a century. The case has spawned countless books, films, documentaries, and even graphic novels. From the early days of penny dreadfuls to modern-day crime procedurals, the Whitechapel murders continue to fascinate and horrify audiences. The Ripper's image has become an iconic symbol of evil and mystery. His name is synonymous with unsolved crimes and the dark underbelly of Victorian society. The enduring fascination with Jack the Ripper speaks to our primal fear of the unknown and the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most civilized society.